dressed sexy and flirted at a party, he made sure I'd regret it forever. Sometimes life takes you into roads you never thought you would go. That's what happened to me. I took the wrong way and lost everything. Hey Reddit guys, I am Lily, a 31-year-old woman. When I was 27, I married James, who is the same age as me. So I started the story like this because it's all about James, how I cheated on him and how I lost him. Yes, how I'm also going through the consequences of his revenge. It's going to be an interesting story for you all. As for me, it is still a nightmare and a lesson at the same time. I'm also going to beg you since the beginning. Please don't be harsh on me. I know I have made some unforgivable mistakes, but it is what it is. I can't do anything. When I was 25, I met James, a young and handsome man who had caught my attention since day one. I knew he was going to someone important in my life. I felt it. I saw him at a party, to be honest. We flirted, exchanged phone numbers, and got in touch. The rest, you know it now. So guys, long story short, we knew each other, got in a relationship for 2 years, and then got married. We loved each other very much, and we really cared about each other. Also, we had a big passion, and sex with him was never boring. Well, I will talk about sex a lot here because I think it's a very important part of a relationship. I am sorry about it. We got married and everything was great. I felt complete. We both had our careers, earned well, were independent, and life was great. He was a very serious person, and I was the funny one. We completed each other. I'm a wedding planner and he is an IT engineer. I loved my job. I loved making and watching people happy. It was like my dream job. Me and James used to have a lot of fun. We used to participate in parties, go out on dates together, and go on road trips. Our relationship never got boring. We also used to try new things regarding sexual relationships, like new positions and new locations. Once we did it on the trunk of our car in a forest. We did it twice, and we could not get enough. The adrenaline was the pleasure we were feeling. It really was amazing. I loved him and the way he made me feel. So this is just an example of how fun our life was. I wish I didn't cheat on him and lose him. Everything started when I met his cousin, Tom. Tom used to live in the United Kingdom, so he didn't participate in our wedding. The first time I met him was when he came back and his parents organized a welcome party for him. And we were invited, of course. Tom was a very handsome guy, and he was a year younger than me. He was tall, blonde, and had blue eyes. Those eyes blew my mind and destroyed everything I had built until that moment. The party was a surprise one, and it was a very good party because it was planned by me. It's actually true. His parents asked me to plan it for them. When he came, James introduced me to him, and he exactly said, "Oh, Lily, you look so sweet and gorgeous. How did my cousin conquer a girl like you?" And he winked at me. Was he joking? Was he flirting? I didn't understand, but I tend to get shy when I like someone, so I blushed right away and told him, he has his methods, Tom." Then he replied, "You haven't seen mine yet." I didn't understand what was going on, but I liked him. Before getting back home, he told me, "We are going to be very good friends, Lily. Can feel it." And again he winked. I just smiled and winked back to him. While we were going back home, I asked my husband a little about Tom. He told me that Tom is a womanizer, and he also told me to be careful with him and not get too close because he doesn't take into consideration that I was his wife. I got offended at that moment and asked him, "Don't you trust me, baby?" "I trust you, but I don't trust my cousin. He is a manipulator who can manipulate everyone's mind." "Well, I don't care how he is. As long as I am yours, I would never be with someone else." "Then he is your cousin. Come on now." I've never seen James getting jealous. He told me that he saw how Tom talked to me and how he winked at me different times, and that was not a good sign. Finally, James told me that he didn't want to see me anywhere near Tom. Was that a threat? Because you know I don't like threats. He told me that it was not a threat and he was just trying to protect me from him. But the truth is, I didn't need anyone's protection. I was 31 years old, and I was able to protect myself and make my own decisions. I got mad at him actually about those words beating. He had never been the jealous type. And for his cousin? Really? I would never get jealous about my cousins, my best friends, or anyone else, as a matter of fact, because I knew my husband and I trusted him. This trust game would kill both of us in the future. And his warnings were so right. I was the one who was being doubtful about what he was saying related to his cousin Tom. The first time that I saw Tom, it already felt like he was flirting with me. I didn't want to believe it because he was my husband's cousin. James and Tom grew up together, so I could not believe he was flirting with me. My husband also didn't want to see me anywhere near him. You know what the strange thing is? That I liked him. I even liked him flirting with me. I would never say that to my husband because I thought it just felt like it could be liked by someone. I mean, I was still attractive. My husband lately didn't say even a nice word to me, never a compliment, and I needed it. I needed or wanted him sometimes to tell me that I was beautiful, or that I looked sexy and those kinds of things. I always tried to look good and attractive, but I never heard a nice word from him. He would say something only when I asked him how I looked. Well, we, women, want to feel loved, liked, and appreciated, and I wasn't feeling any of this. Until now, I had only told you about the first time I met Tom. The second time I saw him was the next day. He came by and asked about James. I told him he was still working. You can call him and meet him later when he comes back home. But then he said, "Since I am here, why not take a coffee with you? Won't you invite me in?" he said. I invited him in. He came in and he had this look into my eyes. I felt like he was flirting with me only with his eyes. I felt so uncomfortable and I didn't know how to start a conversation, but he was that kind of guy that would never stop talking, so he didn't leave the situation in my hands. "So tell me a little, how did you and James meet?" I told him it was a kind of cliche story because we met at a party and then we started chatting and talking. And then the story went on. And here we are, married and planning to build a family together. Then I asked him, "How about you? Do you have anyone in your life?" "No, I don't. When I first saw you, I wished you were single. I didn't know you were my cousin's wife," he said. "That's clearly a lie because I guess you have seen our pictures on social media, like Facebook and Instagram," I told him. He smiled and told me he was joking. He was clearly flirting with me, and again, I liked it. I had those kinds of feelings about talking to him, and I was afraid to stay alone with him. I mean, afraid of myself. I had to come to my senses. He was my husband's cousin, and hey, I was married. I wasn't allowed to have feelings for someone else. No. We had a coffee, and while he was in, my husband came back home from work. He said hi to him and gave me a kiss. I could see he was angry because he had told me that he didn't want to see me anywhere near his cousin Tom. But I was not one that you could give orders to. I was not a girl that would live the life as others wanted me to. So I didn't care if he was angry at that moment. I wanted him to understand why he didn't want me to be near him. The truth is that I understood my husband, because Tom really was a womanizer. He was flirting with me in our house, and he didn't care that I was his cousin's wife. But Tom didn't stop flirting with me even when his cousin and my husband came home. He kept staring at me in a strange way, and he also said he needed me to plan an event for him. I told him that I planned weddings and asked him if he was going to be married, and then he answered, "I can't get married because you are already married." Then I smiled and turned to my husband. "Don't worry and don't feel jealous, I'm only joking." My husband was going out of his mind, I could notice it, but he just laughed. I blushed, but I will not lie. I was feeling liked, and I liked it. I also liked Tom. Finally, a man who still knows how to flirt and make a woman feel good and attractive. He really wanted me to plan an event for him. It was going to be his birthday soon. He was going to be 30 years old, and he was planning to have a big party on that occasion, and he wanted me to plan and organize everything. I was in a position I would never want to be in because my husband was staring at me like he wanted to tell me not to do that. But at that moment, I didn't think to tell him I was busy and I could not organize his birthday party. I just asked him, "Are you serious? Can't you do a birthday party by yourself?" He told me that he wanted it to be perfect, and besides that, he didn't have time for that. So I said yes. I could see how angry my husband was, but Tom seemed very happy. After that, he left, and me and my husband started fighting over me deciding to help him with his birthday party. My husband told me that he only wanted to be near him because planning a birthday party for him was not a big deal. I asked my husband not to be jealous because I would only organize his party. I was not going to sleep with him, and I would never cheat on him, neither with his cousin nor with someone else. But I was going to do that. Tom was planning to have a good big party for his birthday, so I was going to meet him various times and be alone with him. My husband seemed to make peace with that fact, and he also seemed to trust me when I told him that everything would be all right and I would not cheat on him. Never. But it was not like that, because during that time he was being very observant, and I would find that out later. Sometimes he asked me if he could come with me when I used to meet Tom regarding his birthday, and I would say yes, even if I didn't want him to come. Tom was always flirting with me since day one. Later on, he started to avoid that in the presence of my husband, but James knew him very well. Also, at that point, Tom had my phone number, and we would also message each other every day. He made me laugh a lot. He was so different from his cousin and my husband, James. James was very serious. He almost never told a joke. Instead, Tom would always crack a joke and make me laugh even when I was sad about something. He always told me that if I wasn't his cousin's wife, I would be his wife. He said it as a joke, but I like it. But lately, he has been more serious and hitting on me without joking. He would provoke me and come near me, smelling my hair or touching it, touching my belly gently. I'm so ashamed to accept it, but when he touched me, I would tremble. Something beautiful was happening between us. It wasn't actually that beautiful because I was married to his cousin, but I liked it anyway. One day, while we were taking a look at the place where I was going to organize the event, he came on my back, smelled my hair, and kissed my neck. I trembled. I was shaking. I wanted to turn and kiss his lips and feel his body touching mine, but instead I turned and acted angry. "What are you doing, Tom? I'm your cousin's wife." He didn't speak but started kissing my lips passionately, and then I couldn't stop. We kissed and had sex. He kissed every inch of my body and then grabbed me into his arms, put me over a table, and took my clothes off in an impatient way. I also took his clothes off, and I was impatient to feel him inside of me. It was amazing. I had been imagining this scene for some weeks, and finally it happened. That kind of sex was wild, and with my husband, it had been a long time since we tried it. After that, I felt full, like I could go against the whole world and win. We got dressed very fast because we didn't want anyone to come and find us there. Maybe James because he knew where I was. Tom told me he felt amazing the same way as me. He also told me that he liked me a lot. He said he didn't want to do that to his cousin, but he was beginning to like me a lot. He never talked about feelings. Me? I was beginning to have feelings for him, but I knew that was a mistake. That day I went home and I was feeling so ashamed to look my husband in the eyes. He just asked me how everything was going, and I told him fine. We had everything planned, and Tom's birthday was going to be in 4 days. Those 4 days I tried not to talk to him or answer his messages. A night before his birthday, he texted me again. "What are you wearing tomorrow? Please wear a dress where I can easily reach you and give you an orgasm." Oh my God, was he normal? He wasn't, but neither was I. Because when I read that message, I got really horny and started thinking about the next day. I told him I was going to wear a black sexy dress that would blow his mind away and then turn my phone off because I could not handle reading other messages from him. The next day it was his birthday, and the party was in the evening. I went there before to check if everything was right, and I also found him there. It was just the two of us and the staff. He grabbed my hand and led me to the women's bathroom. For the first time, I had sex in there. Me and my husband used to have a lot of sex adventures, but we never did it in the bathroom. But guess who had come there before the other guests too? My husband. He had come near the bathrooms and heard us screaming, he told me I saw later. He knew everything, but he acted like he didn't. But now I know how he felt because I am feeling the same way. That day he acted like nothing, but I could see his madness in his eyes because Tom started doing what he did best, flirting. I flirted back with him, thinking my husband would not get jealous anymore about him. He told me in front of my husband that I looked sexy in that dress, and he would stare at me in a way like he wanted to undress me in front of everyone. James came near me, and he told me that my dress was over-exaggerated. I thought I was sexy and beautiful, I told him. James was very jealous, and I could see it in his eyes. He didn't talk anymore. Instead, he started flirting with my best friend and my colleague at the same time. He was doing that to make me mad as well or make me feel the same way he was feeling. It really changed my mood, and I started getting very jealous of him. Later during the party, I didn't see my best friend anymore. She had gone without even saying bye. She was there because of me, and because she helped me with the party. After a few minutes, my husband told me he had to go home because he was not feeling well. He told me that I could stay, and at that moment I trusted him. He went home and I stayed. After 2 hours, I said bye to everyone, especially Tom. I told him that the sex in the bathroom and the party organization were my gifts for him. I kissed his lips one more when he accompanied me to the car, and I went home feeling happy. The shock would come when I would reach home. In our bed, in that same bed we made love 1,000 times, I found my husband and my best friend doing it. I could hear their moaning from the living room. My world fell apart. I didn't know who was there with my husband, but I could not stand there and not look, so I went there and found them doing it. They didn't stop until I started screaming. My husband then told me, "What did you finish with Tom? I heard you moaning in the bathroom, but I didn't interrupt your fun, so why are you interrupting us now? Why the hell on my bed and with my best friend?" He told me that I deserved it. My best friend felt so ashamed and just said sorry. I could see that she didn't know what to say. They both cheated on me. So I dressed sexy and flirted at a party, and he made sure I'd regret it forever. He took his revenge the hard way. I cheated on him with his cousin, and he did the same to me with my best friend. So I lost my husband and my best friend as well. But that scene made me come to my senses. I had done the same thing to him. He was right to do that to me. But how could my best friend betray me? We had grown up together. I had helped her in everything. I found her a job at the company where I was working, and this is how he rewarded me in this way? My heart was broken in 1,000 pieces. My world fell apart. I was the one who did this. I thought my husband would not find out. He was not stupid. Of course he would understand everything, and he made me regret everything. His revenge destroyed me, but I knew I had destroyed him as well. Our marriage and the life we had built were falling apart all because of me. Yep. My husband told me that he never wanted to see me again. He said I had an hour to take all my things and get out of his house. Then he took my best friend, and they both went out in the middle of the night. It was almost morning, actually. I had never felt more humiliated in my life. I started crying. I hated crying, but I started packing my clothes. I called a taxi and went to my sister's apartment. Humiliated, broken, and destroyed it all, I didn't know what to say. What would I tell my family that I cheated first and my husband took revenge on me? No matter how bad it looked, I had to be honest. I could not lie anymore. I had lied enough, and I had done enough damage. But that scene, guys, of them doing it in our bed, I will never forget. It was traumatic, and the hardest thing I have had to go through in my entire life. This is my story, guys. The story of how I turned into a cheater and how I was humiliated and cheated on because of my decisions and actions. Please be gentle and kind. I'm already going through a lot. I hope you all have a great life. Thank you for reading my story. I'm Lillian. Update. Hello, guys. I'm back to give you an update because I have seen that you have still many questions about my story. Most of them are related to Tom. You have asked if I continued the relationship with him, and also have I heard from my husband. About Tom, I have seen and talked to him, but I didn't want to continue with him. To be honest, he was not okay with it. We both decided that what we did was a mistake because he cheated and betrayed his cousin as well. My husband didn't deserve that. So no matter how charming and attractive Tom was, I could not have a relationship with him. So we just talked and decided that it was better for us to go our separate way. My husband blocked me everywhere. I knew he would do that. But actually, after watching him have sex with my best friend, I don't want to see him anymore. It was over, guys. I hurt him, and he hurt and humiliated me. He cheated and made me see. So this is life. Falling into its traps is easy. Don't do that, guys. Keep the person you love close, and don't let anyone destroy what you have, because you see now what I'm going through. I am living a nightmare. Every night I see them in my dreams doing it in my bed and weakening up just to realize that it all happened to me. Who would have guessed? It's really a nightmare. I can't work properly. I'm not eating or I'm not even sleeping anymore, but I have to go on. I'm not acting innocent because I know it was my fault from the beginning, but I guess I am paying the consequences. I am paying for what I did. This is it, guys. My story ends here. Please advise me on how I can start living again and how I can forgive myself and go on with my life. Much love, Lily.